a house for Abe.
Awesome.
And would regularly provide her with money to spend.
Also awesome.
Their relationship began to deteriorate rapidly, though.
Boo.
When Kasahara could no longer keep up with Abe's sexual appetite, she started to become bored and a little bit angry.
So when you say sexual appetite, you're meaning in what way?
He said to the police in a deposition later that she was not satisfied unless he had his hands on her genitals at all times, and if they did not have sex 4 times a night, she would become angry.
Okay.
He actually grew tired of this whole situation. So the breaking point was really when Abe had asked Kasahara to leave his wife for her. And when he refused, Sada asked him if he would please let her take a lover.
Okay.
And he, of course, was mortified by this suggestion and adamantly forbade it. At the same time, though, I would imagine he, as a man at that time, probably had the freedom to do whatever he wanted with whomever he wanted.
I totally agree.
And it comes back to the sense of ownership, but also she entered into that position as his mistress, knowing what it entailed. I don't really love it. It goes both ways. I bet that he got real butthurt when she asked if she could take a lover because he wasn't satisfying her.
Yeah, which totally I would understand.
Sada being unhappy with this arrangement and this perceived control over her sexuality, and no longer wanting to be owned by him, ended the relationship.
Okay, good job.
Good for you,
Independent
girl.
lady.
Although Sada was quite firm about it being over between them, she still needed to escape somewhere where Kasahara could not find her, because she feared that even if she left him, which she did, he would not let her go. And let's face it, she had definitely had her fair share of being tracked down and brought back to places at this point.
Right, so it's a scarring kind of thought process.
Years later, in a deposition that was given to police by Kinosuke Kasahara, he would say regarding Abe, quote, "She is a slut and a whore.
Oh, good.
And as what she has done makes clear, she is a woman whom men should fear."
You should too with using that kind of strong language against her.
Abe remembered Kasahara in less than flattering terms, saying, quote, "He didn't love me and treated me like an animal. He was the kind of scum who would plead with me when I said that we should break up."
Okay.
Which is not nearly as rough as what he said about her.
Agreed.
In 1935, Sada was leaving Nagoya and wanted to make another attempt to leave the sex work industry. She began working as a maid at a local restaurant where she had met and become romantically involved with a customer named Goro Omiya.
Did he have a bunch of arms?
Goro Omiya was a successful banker and a professor. So real top-notch kind of guy. Throughout the whole thing, I'm a fan. Knowing that the restaurant would not accept one of their maids being involved with a client, and also just being bored with Nagoya, Sada had left Nagoya and returned to Tokyo, where she met up with Goro. However, after arriving, Goro discovered that Sada had syphilis. But because he's just such a sweet, wonderful guy, Goro arranged and paid for her to stay at a very expensive hot spring resort in Kusatsu for several months to help alleviate some of her symptoms and hopefully get her well.
So good guy Goro.
Good guy, Goro.
I'm excited.
Can I say it now?
Get it, Goro!
Get it, Goro! You have no idea how many of those Whitney's had to clip out of the episodes because nobody would understand them. So, after returning from the hot springs resort, Goro had suggested that Sada could become financially independent and more fulfilled if she were to open her own restaurant. Goro even found her an apprenticeship where she could start out. So, Sada began her apprenticeship at the Yoshidaya in Tokyo's Nakano neighborhood on February 1st, 1936.
Okay.
The owner of the restaurant was 42-year-old Kichizo Ishida, who had a terrible reputation for being a ladies' man and a womanizer.
Fantastic, because she's not had enough of her fill on that.
That's correct. So Ishida very rarely did anything to actually run the business and would leave almost every aspect of the restaurant's management to his wife.
Okay.
That is the kind of guy we're talking about.
Great.
The attraction set in very quickly, and Kichiro pursued Sada relentlessly. The unfortunate thing about Sada's relationship with Goro was that he, like so many others she had encountered before, could not satisfy her. But it was in dealing with that sexual frustration that Sada welcomed and reciprocated Kichiro's sexual advances.
Good guy Goro is just there to support. If she had been like, hey, look, I kind of feel like I should do this, I guarantee good guy Goro would have been like, do it, girl.
The passion that's about to ensue is unfucking real. Their relationship began one evening at the Yoshidaya, where the two drank sake and had sex to the accompaniment of a romantic ballad sung by one of the restaurant's geishas.
Which, for me, I don't know if I could take part in singing or playing music while there are people having sex.
On April 23rd of 1936, the two met at a tea house in Shibuya for a pre-arranged sexual encounter. At the time, a tea house could be compared to what is now simply called a love hotel.
Okay, excellent.
This is where it all starts. So they met at this tea house.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them had only planned to meet for a short fling. A one night, just a couple hour type of situation.
Right.
But instead, they remained in bed together for a total of 4 days.
Awesome.
It would seem that Sada had finally found someone who could keep up with her.
Awesome.
After their 4 days in bed together, the two left that tea house and immediately went to another tea house in the Futako neighborhood and spent a few days there. And then they moved to another tea house in the Ogu neighborhood and spent a few nights there.
So basically, people are only high-fiving them up and down the street, is what we're saying.
I mean, basically. They wanted to keep this party going so badly, the two of them would not even stop having sex.
Right.
As geishas entered the room to sing them songs, or when maids would enter the room to serve them sake, they would be serving them sake as they were still getting bajiggity.
Oh, killer, man. Sorry, Goro. We like you
Oh,
so much.
Good guy, Goro. Neither of them returned to the restaurant until the morning of May 8th. To put this in perspective, they met at the first tea house on April 27th, and they did not return to the restaurant until May 8th.
Outstanding.
After returning to the restaurant, Sada began to drink excessively and fell into a deep depression.
Okay.
She stated in an interview later that with Kichiro, she knew love for the first time, and the thought of him being back with his wife made her not only infuriated, but very jealous.
Which I could understand.
Yeah, you're so wrapped up in all of the passion. There is something to be said about having an intense level of passion with somebody. It's magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
Sada went and sold off some of her clothing. She used the money to purchase sushi and a kitchen knife, which she would later use to threaten Kichiro with during one of their meetings, stating to him, quote, "Kichi, you wore that kimono just to please one of your favorite customers. You bastard, I'll kill you for that."
Okay.
She said that because she was inspired to purchase the knife and use that line on him, because she had seen a play where the line and the same method of threatening was used just like a few nights earlier.
Well, drama.
It apparently, it really struck a chord with her, and she felt like it related to her.
Yeah.
So when she did this, she pulled a knife on him. Kichiro was initially startled, as you would be, but then found it arousing and became delighted. Kichiro and Sada went back to the tea house in Ogu. This time, both of their sexual practices would start to become more extreme. In fact, during their sexual encounter, Sada pulled the exact same kitchen knife from her bag and held it to the base of Kichiro's genitals.
Right.
While holding it there, she said to him, quote, "I'll make sure you never play with another woman again."
Okay.
He found it amusing and laughed.
Okay.
2 nights into their stay at the inn, they began practicing autoerotic asphyxiation on each other at Kichiro's request.
Okay.
Sada strangled him with the sash from her kimono several times that evening. They went back and forth, with him strangling her with his bare hands and her strangling him with her kimono sash, until Sada noticed that one time Kichiro's face became distorted, and she could tell pretty immediately that something was wrong.
Okay.
His face did not return to normal, and he was in agony. He was in so much pain. He took 30 tablets of a sedative called Calmotin to ease his pain.
Is Calmotin like aspirin?
It's basically ibuprofen. It's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory and NSAID, so it's ibuprofen. He took 30 tablets of ibuprofen. He took all these tablets, and as he was dozing off to sleep, he told Sada, quote, "You'll put the cord around my neck and squeeze it again while I'm sleeping, won't you? If you start to strangle me, don't stop, because it's so painful afterward," end quote.
Oh.
Somewhere around 2 a.m. on the morning of May 18th, 1936, Sada Abe wrapped her kimono sash around Kichiro's neck twice and strangled him to death. Sada would later tell the police, "After I had killed Ishida, I felt totally at ease, as though a heavy burden had been lifted from my shoulders, and I felt a sense of clarity." She told police that when he had initially made that statement to her about, "You'll wrap the cord around my neck again, and this time just kill me," initially she believed that he was asking her to kill him and that he wanted her to, but after the fact and upon reflection, she realized later on that he may have just been joking.
Or maybe not.
The other thing is, too, if his face had become distorted and he was not in a good place and she was really worried about him, it's hard to find something funny when you're so concerned about somebody that you care about.
I totally agree.
It's about to get graphic, right about this part of the story. After killing him, Sada stayed in bed lying next to Kichiro's body for several hours, after which she took the knife from her handbag and severed his genitals, his penis and testicles.
Okay.
She wrapped them in a magazine cover, and in his blood, she wrote, "Sada Kichi Futari Kiri," which means Sada and Kichi together.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
And then she took the knife and she carved her name into his arm.
Less sad.
Less sad.
Less of the things I would have done.
Could we have just stopped at the blood writing?
I don't think I would. Well, clearly I wouldn't have taken a penis, but I would definitely.
What about the testes?
Not those either.
After that, she put on Kichiro's underwear. She placed his severed genitals into her handbag, and she left the tea house around 8 a.m.
Like you do.
As you do, because you're a lady.
Oh, gosh.
On the way out, telling staff to, quote, "not disturb him and let him sleep."
The eternal sleep.
You can find pictures of his body. You can find pictures of him still laying in the bed, missing all of his bits and pieces. After leaving the inn, Sada met up with Goro. Remember him? Good guy Goro?
Good guy Goro.
Oh. When they met up, Sada apologized to Goro profusely. Out of nowhere, as soon as they met up, right?
Okay.
Goro, who was unaware of the murder, obviously, assumed that she was apologizing for having an affair.
Uh-huh.
He thought that this apology was coming from the fact that she had been sleeping with
another person.
Yeah, Kichizo. But in actuality, Sada was apologizing to him because she knew that her association with him was about to completely destroy his career.
Oh,
which,
no.
Sadly, it did.
Good guy Goro, why?
It ruined him and he lost everything.
Oh no, good guy Goro.
The next day, Sada went to see a movie. She went shopping. She stayed at an inn in Shinagawa for a couple of nights where she got a massage and drank beer, and attempted to have sex with Kichiro's severed penis. She also attempted to give it fellatio.
Nope.
I'm going to spare everybody the details about that whole encounter because I'm sure we can all hopefully figure out why that didn't work out so well.
Uh-huh.
Feeling empty and incredibly depressed over Kichiro's death, she had decided that she was going